Hi, this is Crystal Hogan, NCAA Men's Division I official from Compton, California. Thanks for listening to the 𝗿𝗵𝘁𝗀 podcast. Serve the game.
I'd like to welcome our next guest to the 𝗿𝗵𝘁𝗀 podcast, a loving mother of one daughter from Compton, California. She is an 18-year basketball official who broke into Division I on the women's side in 2009. She would go on to work another 9 seasons there while simultaneously officiating in the G League from 2012 to 2015. Then in 2018, she made history by becoming the only female official to work Division I men's college basketball. So happy to spend some time with you today, ladies and gentlemen. And I'd like to welcome Crystal Hogan to the podcast. How are you, Crystal?
Thank you. I'm doing well. I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
It's a pleasure speaking with you. Just a quick backstory, in 2018, when I first saw your story, I was scrolling through Facebook at the time, and just the fact that you were the only female official working on the men's side. And I just got to say, remembering that feeling I had, it was just genuinely, I was super happy for you. I didn't know you at the time, but I was proud. And I just think it was a really good moment in officiating. I think it was a really proud moment in officiating in general. And I can only imagine how hard you worked to get there. So I wanted to hear, all about the events leading up to that. But I wanted to tell you in person or over Zoom, congratulations on that account.
Wow. Thank you. I'm still, again, it's been a great ride. It's been amazing. I'll just say that it's been amazing. But yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
I definitely want to hear more about that crossover moment in your career, but let's just backtrack a little bit. I love hearing about the I love hearing about the highlights and, your career milestones, but we as officials and lifelong learners, we find a lot of value in hearing about your process and the steps that you took, to reach those goals. So just talk to us about your history with officiating, how you got your start, take us through high school ranks up to Division I women's and the G League before you made that switch.
Okay, so first of all, I played at Long Beach State. I played basketball at Long Beach State for 3 years, and at Long Beach State, I met 𝗵𝗵𝘁𝗀, who is an NBA referee now, but he was actually an assistant coach at Long Beach State, and I met him. So we remained friends, but after I graduated, I had a baby, had my daughter, Taylor, and I was still looking for a way to stay involved in the game, and he's like, have you ever thought about refereeing? And honestly, playing at Compton and playing at Long Beach State, I honestly never even paid attention to the referees. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I never paid attention to the referees. So
that means you just played and you didn't complain.
Yeah. So once he presented that to me, I was like, okay, well, yeah, sure. How do I do it? And that's what led me to the Long Beach unit. I started in Long Beach, California, in the Long Beach unit. And from there, I had my daughter. So she was very young. She was 1. My daughter was 1 year old when I first started. So, having a young kid, being a single mother, because I was a single mother, it was tough. It was tough to do both. So I took a year off. And then when I came back, I actually started to take it a little bit more seriously. And I started going to camps. And I went to, 𝗿𝗵𝘁𝗀𝘀𝗁's camp. I went to 𝗁𝗵𝗁𝘂𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 really like it. So ended up getting hired by Rich Colin, doing JC, as well as John Danglis, and did that route. I got hired Division III. And I'll tell this story, and I don't think I've told this story before. Working in Division III, I'm still working high school, but working in Division III college, women's. I worked with my partner. Her name was Liz, and we had a game. And I actually thought, honestly, I did a phenomenal job in the game. Again, I'm still doing high school and rep this game, and I thought I did great. I walked off the court feeling really good. Didn't really know college mechanics, or but I just thought I did good. and this had to be the most humbling experience, because when we got in the locker room, she said, Crystal, she was like, if you ever ref like that again, you won't be reffing college basketball much longer.
Wow.
And I have to tell you, I was like, oh my gosh. And she explained to me, but it was, I really, really appreciate her telling me the way that she told me, because it woke me up, I guess. Because after that, I started taking it a little bit more seriously, getting in the books. And I got hired by 𝗿𝗍𝘆𝘀𝗺 and doing Division I in the WCC, which was, oh my God, that was probably one of the best experiences. I was like, she gave me a shot. I was still doing high school and lower level junior college. So I did that. And
sorry to stop you. So you made the jump from junior college in D3 to D1. You skipped D2?
Yeah, I didn't get,
Nice.
well. I went to camps, and I actually got hired in D2 the second year of doing Division I. So I got hired in 2009 by 𝗿𝗍𝘆𝘀𝗺 doing Division I, and then I got hired in the CC2A and the Big West in 2010. So yes, I did. I also started reffing in the Drew League, and I'm sure you guys all know about the Drew League, but I didn't start reffing in the Drew League. I started watching the Drew League, because I literally sat and watched the Drew League for 2 years before I jumped out. A lot of veteran officials.
A little nerve-wracking, right?
Yeah. Well, you know what though? It was the Drew League was scary when I first started out, and just watching it. It was so high paced, and just you would see like Kevin Cutler and Michael Houston and all the veteran officials out there, and I'd be like, you know what? I'm just not ready for that yet, because I was only doing high school, and high school girls and JV at that. I wasn't really even doing varsity, so it was a transition. So I sat and watched the Drew League for about 2 years, and so I started, and then the third year I got kicked on the court. They're like, you know what? It's time. So, but yeah, so from there, I did fairly well and got hired it was the D League at the time, but the NBA G League with George Tolliver. And I say this every time, it had to be probably it was the best training that I've ever had. It took me to a different level of thinking. And again, it was the best training that I had ever had. Then from the G League, I'm kind of skipping around, but from the G League, I reffed the G League up until 2015, but there were some life-altering changes that happened during that time frame, where my focus, it comes at self-accountability. I was laid off from work, from being a parole aide from law enforcement. I was laid off, and then rehired, and then relocated, and I had a lot of things going on, child custody issues. It was just really bad. So my focus wasn't really there, and so the D League ended up getting fired in 2015 from the D League, and it was eye-opening, but it was, again, self-accountability. My focus wasn't there. My focus was on my child and my career. So, and it was probably the best experience officiating training that I've had ever in those 3 years. So my experience kind of goes way back, about 18 years of officiating. But it's been well worth it, and it's been a ride. It's definitely been good.
Talk to me about working the G League and Division I simultaneously. Back and forth. You may be working at Grand Rapids on Monday, and then at UCLA on Tuesday. How was that transition from game to game, as far as travel, rules, all that?
You know what? It was definitely, it was tough. But if you really want to do something, you make it happen. So, it was a lot of self-talk for the rules, because there are different rules. But women's basketball is a little bit closer to NBA basketball, so it wasn't as hard. It wasn't that hard. But the travel became an issue for me, because my relocation when I got laid off from work and relocated to Northern California, travel became an issue with the G League. So, but overall, it wasn't that bad. It was actually reinforcing things that I was learning in the G League, going back and using them in my college games and trying to see what worked and what didn't, and just constantly just trying to get better. And it worked out for me.
So when did you first think about switching over to the men's side? Talk to me about how that opportunity formed for you.
Honestly, honestly, it wasn't a matter of whether Crystal wanted to go on the men's side. The opportunity was presented, and fortunately enough, I was ready for it. I didn't think in a million years that I'd be reffing men's college, because that wasn't, I mean, there were no women doing it. So it didn't even cross my mind, honestly. It didn't even cross my mind. I thought, you know, Drew League would be my fix for men's basketball, because I'll probably be doing Drew League till I'm 90 years old. But yeah, it never crossed my mind. It was just, you know, an opportunity that presented itself. And like I say, you when you're refereeing, I referee like somebody's watching you all the time, because they are. And apparently someone saw me reffing at the Drew League, and my name came up, and the rest is pretty much history.
It's funny, for all new hires in 2018, when you broke into the men's side, there's probably no one that had your resume. You know, if you look back at your experience with 11 years or 9 years of Division I on the women's side, Drew League reps, which are different, and then the G League, it's like you had the perfect resume to make that switch.
You know, yes, I agree, but you know, it also comes with, you know, basketball officiating is you need a realm of things. And yes, I do have the officiating experience on the court, but when you have gone through the things that I've gone through, that have, I believe, made me so much stronger, that helped tremendously as well.
I'm sure. So take me through that first game, working on the Division I men's side.
You know what? And I'm getting chills just thinking about it. But
I love it.
If I were to sit here and tell you that I wasn't nervous, I'd be lying. I was so nervous because I knew everybody was watching, obviously. But you know what? A lot of self-talk, and my partners that I was with, they were amazing. Like they didn't treat me any different, but they you know, it was basically, you're out here for a reason, so let's just go ahead and handle this game. And once I went out on the floor, and once he's like, you know what, you toss. Once I threw the ball up, everything else went out the window. My training kicked in, and it went very well. It went very well. I don't even think I breathed through the whole season. I was so excited about even being a part of it, but I was more excited at the fact that I was there, you know, and I was chosen to do it. And it was just, how can I put it? Because I'm getting emotional even thinking about it. I love men's basketball. I love to officiate men's basketball. Growing up, I didn't really play sports as a kid, but growing up in the streets of Compton and just playing outside, I always played with the guys. So I don't know if it was the natural progression for me just really click to men's basketball, or, you know, working, but my whole season was mainly just me just being a sponge. Like, and I'm still that way. Just being a sponge, and Bobby put me with so many good people. Like my crew chiefs, all my crews were just really, really good. And I took notes every single time in the locker room. I took notes. I was just a sponge, and I just wanted to learn everything that I possibly could while out there. I knew I was gonna make mistakes. They knew I was gonna make mistakes, but all in all, everybody was super supportive, and it worked out. I mean, I'm still a sponge. I'm still learning, but it's been really good. The first year, I mostly was just trying not to make mistakes. I was just trying to you know, do what I needed to do to stay out there.
No, I love it. I love hearing it. Another amazing part of the story when I first heard it was the fact it raised awareness in my mind that there were no female officials working Division I on the men's side. I'd never thought of it. Obviously, we know there's women in the G League, there's women in WNBA, there's women in the NBA, but I had never made that switch to NCAA men's. I would love to see more women getting involved. Are you still the only one?
You know what? Honestly, I think that was the thought for a lot of people, that, you know, because you don't think about it. You just, I mean, because really people are not out there watching the referees. They're watching the game most likely. But, you know, I think a lot of people thought, well, wow, wait a minute. There are no females, but there are them. But, you know, as of right now, I honestly don't know. I'm sure there'll be more. I'm hoping that there'll be more. But as of right now, honestly, I don't know. I mean, with COVID is been, you know, has put a monkey wrench in a lot of things. So I honestly, I don't know if there are any other women. I hope so.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. I don't know.
You had mentioned one of the aspects of officiating that you're really passionate about, which is game management. And I know you've had your fair share of reps working the different levels that you have. What are some of the biggest things you've learned about game management that you've been able to go apply and have success?
You know what? Game management, the Drew League really, really taught me the true meaning of game management.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And I say that, and I say that with all sincerity, because if you don't have the tools or the skills to communicate out there, it's not gonna help you. So for me, I don't necessarily, I think I look at a lot of officials, and a lot of officials, you know, they want to be validated for, you know, the play calling, and yes, you need to get your plays right. That is absolutely correct. But when the game starts to hit the fan, are you going to be able to deal with that? Are you going to be able to know the ins and outs, how this started, where this, you know, who's your disruptors? And I think that's extremely, extremely important. Communication is key. And I pride myself on trying to communicate, because down at the Drew League, technical fouls mean nothing to them. They don't mean, it means absolutely nothing.
Right.
So you have to figure out a way to communicate with the coaches, the players, the fans, your partners, you know what I mean? And you have to be effective. So, I mean, I've had my bumps and bruises. Don't get me wrong. I've had my bumps and bruises, but in a game, I'm always going to know who my disruptors are in a game. I'm always going to know the tone of the game, the temperature of the game. You always want to know, like, okay, what's going on? You know, you see these two over here kind of jawing a little bit. Are you going to address it? Are you going to let it ride and see? You know, a lot of times we forget that part of the game, and we just think we have to get our, you know, make sure you call fouls and violations. But the knowing the temperature of a game, and knowing who your disruptors are, and knowing how to de-escalate a coach, or, you know, telling a player or a coach, you know what, I missed that call. My bad. You know, I wasn't in the right position. I missed that call. I don't have a problem doing that. And I think that if you learn to humble yourself, and, you know, we're not always right. We're not perfect. But if you learn to humble yourself, your relationship with coaches, your relationship with players and your peers get a lot better, and you get a lot better. So game management, to me, is the most crucial part, and it's in the game. It's the most crucial part. It's the most important to me.
Yeah. It's funny. We work in so many hot environments.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, de-escalation. The skill of de-escalation is an incredible skill that is really required for us officials. Being able to lower the volume on something, or reduce the heat in that moment. Absolutely.
And I think, and someone brought it to my attention, I don't know if it's because I'm in law enforcement and that's kind of what we do quite like every day, but it helps. Whatever helps. But you know, you have to be able to de-escalate a situation, and you have to be able to communicate effectively with everybody, with all entities involved. That's the only way I think you can be successful.
How has working in law enforcement helped you in this category?
You know, it's a great deal, because I mean, you know what, it's not even just, I grew up in Compton, you know what I mean? So I've seen a lot. Yeah. And so you learn how to communicate with people. You learn how to you learn how to talk to people. You learn respect, you know, and if you want respect, you have to give respect. And that goes both ways. That goes with law enforcement, that goes with being on the floor. There is no, you know, yes, I'm an official, but that doesn't mean that I'm, you know, that I'm going to tell you I'm doing this, and that it doesn't work like that. You have to learn how to communicate. You have to meet people halfway.
I know a lot of officials struggle with communication. What helped you become an effective communicator? I mean, influences in your life, reading books, taking classes, you know, what helped you get to that next level?
You know what? Reading books, yes, verbal judo is a good one. But, you know, working with veteran officials at the Drew League, because the Drew League has been probably that is my training ground. Yeah. But working at the Drew League, getting yelled at, getting cursed at, getting, you know, all of the above happens. It happened. And just taking a minute to actually process it, you know what I mean? Not just going down to referee games to get paid. And no, when we go down there to work at Drew, we get feedback from everybody. We get feedback from our partners. We get feedback from the coaches. We get feedback from the players. They'll tell you in a minute, Crystal, you screwed up that play. Or Crystal, you know what? Why'd you call that? You know what I mean? And you have to step back and humble yourself and actually take the time to think about it and say, you know what? You're absolutely right. Or you know what? This is what I saw. So just communicating with them, having an open dialogue with the players there at the Drew, the coaches at the Drew, and the veterans and all the other officials that we all work together in LA Pro-Am at the Drew, that's helped a great deal. Yeah. That helped a great deal. Not to mention, I have a 19-year-old daughter right now. So a 19-year-old girl. So of course, the communication is, it can, you know.
Yeah. I'll be there in 16 years, so I'll let you know how.
Oh yeah, so it's coming. It's coming. Yeah, but no, just I got a lot of practice. So between work, you know, with the communication I have to do within work, within my daughter and Drew League, and now, you know, men's college basketball, it's I've got a lot of practice, and I enjoy it. That's the thing. I don't know it's some crazy thing that I got going on, but I really like it a lot.
Well, you got to enjoy it if you're going to be good at it. So that helps. Now, you said you sat on the sidelines and watched and prepared for the Drew League for 2 years. How long did it take once you started to feel comfortable, to feel like you were accepted? Like, all right, I got this.
You know what? I can't give you an exact time, but it took some years. Okay. It took some years for me to feel that way. And I think when the players and the coaches started to respect me and, you know, communicate with me effectively, or trust me, I just say that when the players and the coaches began to trust me in my decision making, I think that's when I started to feel like, oh, okay, I'm finally starting to get it. And keep in mind, these are not just regular, you know, these are not just regular guys. These are guys that played high level basketball, you know, whether they're college players, whether they played higher level high school, higher level college. You know, I've had the opportunity to referee several NBA, you know, higher level NBA players. And when you have them start to respect and kind of trust you after coming, you know, that says a lot. And it made me a little bit more comfortable.
You got the respect from the top, and then it just trickles down.
Yeah. But it didn't come easy. It didn't come easy. No, it didn't come easy at all. You know, I paid my dues. You know what I mean? I took the bumps and I took the bruises, and I'm still taking bumps and bruises at times because nobody's perfect. Mm-hmm. But you have to go through that process. There's no skipping. You have to go through a process. So.
I know I've been following you on Instagram. I know you have some great pictures of some Drew League moments. Is there any player stories that you could share? I would love to possibly maybe hear a Kobe story.
You know what? Kobe Bryant, I am a Kobe fan. I was a diehard Kobe fan. And Kobe Bryant, he came to the Drew, and I'm gonna try not to get emotional because this normally I'm not one that gets fan struck at all. That doesn't. But Kobe Bryant was different. I wasn't fan struck, and yes, I got to officiate the game that he came to Washington Park and blessed us there. But just seeing the look on the kids' faces and even adults, seeing the look on everybody's face when he walked in that gym. It was an experience that I will never forget. I mean, his interaction with the crowd, like it was like this was his house. He took that as this is his house, and he interacted with the crowd. He talked mess. He played hard. I mean, he played against James Harden. You had James Harden, him and James Harden going at it. You had DeMar DeRozan. You have all these different entities, and he when it came to be I think it was like third period, they were like, okay, Kobe, it's time for you to go, because one, we're in LA, and they're like, it's time for you to go. We got security. We got to get you out. And he's like, no, it's a tie ball game. I think it was a tie ball game where they were close. And he was like, I'm not leaving. And it turned out to be one of the most, it turned out to be one of the most amazing experiences for him to hit the game-winning shot. That was probably the best experience that I've had reffing. And again, mind you, I've had Chris Paul, I've had Blake Griffin, I've had DeAndre Jordan, the whole Clipper. That's why.
Lob City.
But him coming in the gym. I mean, I think LeBron came in a few weeks, maybe a month before he did, and I reffed that game as well. And LeBron is just he was a beast as well. It was just different. It was just different. Yeah. So yes, that's my Kobe story.
I love it. I just want to take a moment to read off some of the officials that you listed as mentors and people who were influential in your journey in no particular order. As you mentioned, Kevin Cutler, your whole Pro-Am fam, Dino Smiley, Anita Ortega, Vern Harris, Andrea Osborne. Just wanted to recognize those mentors that were influential in your.
And my daughter Taylor Thomas, she will kill me if I don't mention her. But my daughter has been my #1 fan, and she has been the one that's made sure that I make no mistakes. If she tells me I need to button up my shirt, I need to button up my shirt. She's just like, she is on me. But she has to be in that group because she is my #1.
Does she come watch you a lot?
When she could, she went to Hampton. So this all happened. It couldn't have been better timing. I mean, my daughter had just graduated from high school and chose to go to Hampton University in Virginia. So when I got hired on the men's side, I just knew I was about to go through empty nest syndrome. My daughter's gone. What am I going to do? But then I get hired and I'm like, oh my God. So it worked out. It just kind of worked out. So she came to my game at USC. Which was really good because I had a lot of family there, and it was she was extremely happy to see me referee. But yeah, she came to a few games. She came to Oregon. She came to a few games with me. She did, but she couldn't come to many because she was a cheerleader at Hampton. Okay. So she had her own thing going on.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
One of the things I love most about officiating is everything you're able to learn from it and then go apply in real life. I find many parallels. What would you say some of your biggest takeaways from the 18 years you've spent as a referee?
I just think that officiating is great. But I think at the same time, how can I put it? There's always somebody watching you, no matter where you are on the floor, no matter what gym you're in, no matter where you are, there's always somebody watching you. So morally, ethically, just stay 100%. You know what I mean? Because there's always someone watching you. Self-accountability. You have to be accountable. Even in real life, you have to be accountable, not only on the floor, but off the floor. Professionalism is key. You have to be professional. Um, what else? Control what you can control. A lot of times, as officials, we tend to want certain things at certain times, but it's not up to us. So I just think that, my Kevin Cutler's he's always been one to tell me, control what you can control and not worry about anything else that you can't control. And that's in real life as well. Yeah. You know what I mean? So those are the things, those are the takeaways. As far as there being ups and downs, my journey, there's been a lot of ups and a lot of downs. Mm-hmm. And through that, I think it all prepared me for where I am right now.
Love it. I just wanted to give you the opportunity to speak about anything else that you might be passionate about. What else did you want to share with us today?
You know what? I can't pretend that it's not here, because COVID has affected a lot of us. COVID has had an effect on us economically, physically, and mentally. So I would just say that, if you are someone, if you're an official or anybody that is struggling or needs help, reach out. We are here, because COVID COVID has been really bad. And I just want people to understand that officiating, we are a family. So if there's something going on, just reach out, because we're here. And as officials, we need to reach out to people right about now, because we are in unprecedented times. So I would just say, just please, let's help each other. Let's help each other. And vote, please.
That's the one great thing about, the community and fraternity and sorority of officials. It's like a brotherhood and a sisterhood. So just as Crystal said, if anybody needs anything, feel free to reach out. Crown Rep.
Officials think that, getting to that next level, or I'd like to stress a little bit more on the hardships and the things that just a few things that I've had to encounter.
Sure.
Prior to being selected to work men's basketball. Because I think any woman thinking about officiating, period, not just men or women, our situations, we have a little bit more added things to, especially if you have kids. Especially if you have kids and trying to pursue a career and trying to pursue officiating. Because I know for me, looking back at the journey, I didn't enjoy the ride. You know what I mean? On the way, they want you to enjoy the ride, but it was hard for me. It was hard. It was very hard. Being a single parent, going through a very bitter divorce, and just child custody. I even got laid off from work, from being a law enforcement officer. I got laid off. And it's being laid off, and now all I have is basketball. So you have to make adjustments, and being a single parent, there's that single parent thing again. And, being laid off, and from there being relocated, okay, yes, we'll hire you back, but now being relocated. So now I'm forced to leave Southern California, and this is all while I'm still trying to pursue a career in officiating at the Division I level. I'm still officiating women's basketball, and it was hard. It was the focus was terribly hard. Getting fired. I've gotten fired twice. I got fired from the WCC, which we didn't discuss. I got fired from the WCC, and I got fired from the D League. And that took a lot out of me. I'm not even gonna lie. I was at the time, I was like, oh wow, like I'm just not there. I think I was more focused on my career and my daughter as opposed to basketball. And I had to take a step back and say, okay, I got to be accountable. I can't get mad at them for firing me. I have to take accountability to say, what is it that I did? What I need to get better in. Mm-hmm. And I did that. It took me a minute. It took me a minute to get past that. But once I did, I think that drive is what propelled me to be ready for working men's college basketball, and now be able to enjoy my journey, but it didn't come easy. As a single parent, trying to focus on taking care of your child, it didn't come easy. So I just want everyone to understand that, officiating has its highs and lows, but you have to stay positive. You have to stay positive, and you have to have some self-accountability.
Sounds like you learned a lot from, maybe the downturns in your career. And
absolutely.
I just want to give you a lot of credit for your transparency. The fact that you've mentioned about getting laid off, the fact that you've mentioned about being fired. Nobody's came up and talked about them getting fired from a roster so far on the podcast. And this just shows the strength.
Really?
Yeah, but this shows your strength. This is strength to admit that. And like you said, accountability to own that, you put it in your pocket and you're using it as ammunition now.
Absolutely. And again, I didn't feel that way when it happened. And it happens to a lot of us. But, at the end of the day, you are only responsible. You're responsible for you. In my case, I'm responsible for me and my daughter, Taylor. Yeah. So there were some things I needed to do, and I felt like I did it. I kept striving. I kept going. I kept working hard, and it just all paid off for me. It did. So I am very blessed and excited and happy and all kind of other words I can use. But yeah, I just want everybody to understand that it did not come easy. Anything worth having is not going to come easy.
Of course. It seems like, and I don't know you that well, but just the time, interacting online and then speaking with you now, you just seem like a really genuine personality. And like I said before, I'm really, really happy for you and your accomplishments in your career. I say that genuinely.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity of you allowing me to be a part of Crown Refs, because you guys are awesome.
I'm just
great
you want to talk with us. I'm happy you picked up the phone. So
I don't talk much, but I just, I thought it was a great opportunity. But yes, thank you.
Yeah, is there anything you want to leave the audience of officials that are listening with before we go?
You know what? I just say, we're gonna have a season, and be safe. Whatever you do, just be safe and enjoy it.
Crystal, thank you so much. I look forward to speaking with you again, and best of luck to you and your family.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you for listening to the Crown Refs podcast. Serve the game.